What the hell do you side against Ojamas? What's up, guys? Dave Nader 1, 2, and 2, and if you can't tell, I'm losing my voice. Which means I'm gonna make the logical decision of making a discussion video where I'm talking directly to the camera. Oh boy. Kailan! Today's discussion video is going to be a really short one because I can't speak. So again, as the last one, I want you guys to really do most of the discussion in the comments below. We actually had a really good turnout last time, so I'm super excited for this one. Everyone does one of these dumb videos every once in a while about what to side for the current meta and this, that, and the other thing, and I'm not going to talk about that. You guys can talk about that if you want, but I'm going to actually propose something a little bit different. That is the pros and cons of the side deck. The side deck is probably one of the most important things to any game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're doing anything remotely competitive. For the noobs who don't know what a side deck is, basically it's 15 cards that you have the option to swap in and out with your main deck cards between duels in a match, which are normally best 2 out of 3.
Much like a side chick.
A proper side deck is extremely important because it kind of separates the 0-4 or 2-2 with your 3-1s and 4-0s and going to top 8s and things like that at locals or bigger tournaments. Marty! God, it's like I can't make a video in this house. And with every new meta deck, everyone likes to ask the question, what is the good card to use against this thing? And then you figure it out. Like with ABCs, System Down works really well because it's a Banshee Dark Hole for machines. So even though your ABC Buster Dragon tries to tag out, sure he'll tag out, and then all the stuff that he makes just get banished anyway. So him tagging out doesn't really stop anything. Unlike if he was targeted by something, he can dodge it. But we all know that. But we all know that. The pros of the side deck are very, very simple and exactly what you think they are. You add cards to your deck that make your deck better against your opponent, and you take cards out that don't really do very much or actually are hurting you. But the cons are really interesting. What separates the high tier players to the low tier scrubs is how you side deck, not just what you side deck. Basically meaning that it gives you a competitive edge only if you're already competitive. Another thing you're going to run into is sometimes certain side deck cards that are really good against a certain deck that you might even have a problem with are also good against your deck. Most of the time you're not going to see Lightsworn side in Light Imprisoning Mirror against ABC. They're just not going to do that. Another problem with side decking, this is something that drives me insane, is that it's kind of expensive. Yeah, like even if you don't want to play a meta deck, because assuming that unless there's like a starter deck that's like buy 3, you have a meta deck, which happens once in a while, you're going to find that the meta deck, yes, is probably the most expensive, especially top tier 1 Uber deck. Necros, for instance, comes to mind when they were new. They were like $1,000 because they were super expensive and they're hard to pull. So as a rogue player or a tier 2 player, you're going to probably play a deck that's good, but it's a little more bang for your buck, if anything else. So you've got your Ritual Beasts during your Necros format. It's a good deck. It's much cheaper and it can put up a pretty good competitive edge. What do you put in the side deck? Oh, well, there goes your wallet. You thought you were being clever playing a cheaper deck, and then it realizes you gotta spend money out the freaking ass just to side against the good deck. Like, System Down right now is like a $4 or $5 common. That's really expensive for a common. It's not too bad for a card you desperately need to side into your deck to win, but for a common, that's pretty terrible. I mean, like what? They're normally like $1 for 3. But yeah, these are basically just my thoughts, pros and cons of side decking, and kind of the things I've been mulling over in my head as I'm on the train going back and forth from work. I think I'm going to close the video with a few of my, pro tips that as a Yu-Gi tuber I've come across in my time and my very, very small amount of competitive play. Tip number 1, if you know you're going first, side in traps. If you know you're going second, this is assuming it's game 2, don't side in traps. Even if they're like legit really good traps against their deck, it's probably not going to help you. They're just going to be dead draws. Tip number 2. If there is a main deck option for your archetype that's a pseudo floodgate or an interesting tech against another deck, sometimes that can be a better option than the traditional tech against that deck. For instance, I played Ultra Athletes during Necro's format, and Blockbacker was particularly good against that deck, which means he was a decent side in that deck because I could search him because he was part of the deck, so I can kind of get at him easier. Tip number 3, have a side deck if you're going to a tournament. Oh my god, I can't tell you how many times I've lost a game 3 simply because I didn't have the proper cards in my side deck and I just didn't know what to put in, or I kind of just half-heartedly threw it together before the tournament. Drives you nuts, especially if you take a meta deck to game 3 with your rogue tier piece of shit and you only lose because you didn't draw some stupid shit that you needed. Ugh. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of side decking, your thoughts on it, and maybe even some interesting text for this format that no one's playing. Like I said before, I want it to be a discussion, I want it to be a forum down there, because it helps my videos get exposure, and you guys can actually help me and get some really cool ideas out in the open, because a lot of people, you know, they don't have a platform for this like us YouTubers do, so I find it's actually pretty constructive. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and remember, guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next time.